Welcome to our first coffee chats. The general idea of doing these coffee chats that we're going to release each week, hopefully, is that you just see us having a casual conversation about maybe something to do with the sermon or what's going on at Riverside, or even maybe something going on in the world. But we just want to have a casual conversation and film that, so you might see something behind the screens of what we're watching, something slightly more casual than the Sunday services. So Keely, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How's lockdown treating you?
Oh, not bad. Wish it was different, but we're all in it together, aren't we? So, yeah, we're still here at work.
Yeah. Do you want to let us know a little bit of what Riverside looks like at the moment?
So the staff team mostly are in the pastoral staff team. We're all in, socially distanced, as you can see. That's why I'm not sitting any closer to you. So we're all working, aren't we?
Yeah.
The cafe's closed at the moment, so our staff are furloughed. But our compassion projects, their pantry project and Grow Baby are still going, and we have volunteers coming in because they're allowed to pack bags for people in the community and sort parcels of baby clothes out. So they're massively expanding this year because of coronavirus. We've got a lot going on with those, and we're just getting on with filming and doing everything else that we're doing.
Yeah, so right now, as you can see, we're actually filming in the office. So you'll probably get people walk past and have conversations.
A bit like the news.
A bit like the news, yeah, it's a bit like the news. We were a bit gutted a couple of weeks ago when they announced that we were going to have to shut the cafe and all of that, because it was such a great place for people to come and have community with each other and spend time with each other, come in for a coffee. And we do miss that, don't we?
We massively miss it, yeah. It's very quiet here. Apart from all the bag packing and the volunteers, the rest of the place is really eerily quiet, and we do hate that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing my sermon at the moment, and normally if I get bored when writing my sermon, or my mind has just got to the point where I can't keep on writing, then I'll walk down to the cafe, I'll go have a chat with people, I'll get my extrovertness
I think we both
out.
do that, don't we?
Get the extrovertness out. That's not a word, is it? But get that out of me, and then come back and sit on my... But at the moment, when I'm bored, or it's less bored, it's
really
more
got me to talk to.
Yeah, now I've got you to talk to. But when my brain is so fried, I'm just walking up and down the corridor. So it is a bit sad. I mean, yeah. Do you have any things that, when you're writing a sermon, do you have any things that you would always do when writing a sermon, like to get yourself thinking or to like calm yourself down?
I think it's different every time. It depends what mood I'm in.
The right answer is you spend time away and listen to God.
Yes, obviously doing all of that, but no, I'm one who has to get up, get around and shake my brain a bit and come back. And
So you use the same technique of going and chatting to people?
Definitely,
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I feel like every time I go and do that in the cafe, you've been in the chat for about half an hour anyway.
Already, I think we love people, don't we? So for us, it's like any bit of connection, especially over this lockdown, and because people in church have been coming, we've loved that. So we just go and connect. So it's very sad the cafe's shut, but hopefully in a few weeks we'll re-emerge.
Yeah. So Sunday just gone. You spoke on the first one that we weren't back in the building for at all.
Again, and I was the first one who spoke when lockdown hit the first time.
Really? Were you?
I was due to speak, and I had to record that one.
Were you gutted that you couldn't do it
definitely.
in person?
I mean, I actually hate the whole filming process, as Jake knows.
Oh, yes.
I hate it. People go, oh, you look really great. And I'm like, you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Jake does. And this, so I hated the fact that I just couldn't be in the room with people. But
Keely's always one take. It's always one take.
Yeah, occasionally.
So, Sunday just gone, you spoke on... just online on a faith that frees. So do you want to expand a little bit on what that actually is?
Well, really, I just think that a lot of people say, oh, I can't become a Christian because it's all about rules and regulations, and I like my life and I want to be free. And so I wanted to just talk about the fact that I think following Jesus gives us more freedom, not less freedom, and that it's a life of abundance. And I then talked about some of the different things. I just pulled out a few things that I thought following Jesus enabled us to be and do. So yeah, that was it really. It's about having a faith in Jesus gives us a lot more than, you know, just rules and regulations.
Yeah, it was a great talk. If you haven't seen it, I would suggest for you to go onto YouTube and watch it. But one of the things you talked about is forgiveness. You talked about forgiveness and how we could be free to forgive.
Yeah.
So why is forgiveness important?
Yeah, I really think forgiveness is huge, and people underestimate the power of it. And I've been in pastoral ministry for 25, 30 years, and I've seen so many...
Which is longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, that is. I've just seen so many people bound up by unforgiveness, and it really does destroy them as a person. But I've also seen the flip side, where I've been able to walk people through forgiveness, or they've chosen to forgive, and their life is so different. And I think when you live in unforgiveness and bitterness, you kind of live in captivity, like in a prison, and then people who choose to forgive are really free. And so I wanted to kind of say that forgiveness is so freeing, and if you're struggling with unforgiveness, I implore people to really try and forgive.
What's that quote? I remember in Alpha there's a quote about drinking poison. What's that?
Well, there was two that I referenced, and now you're asking me, I won't be able to remember them, but the one of them is unforgiveness is like drinking poison yourself and expecting the other person to die, like expecting that the consequences for yourself are going to somehow hurt the other person. Or the other one I have remembered is like living, like unforgiveness is like letting the other person live rent free in your head, like again giving them permission to live with you when you like, why are you wanting that when they're the ones who've hurt you? So forgiveness is all about cutting you off from the hurt that person has done and setting you free. You might think it's about the other person, and you might be finding it hard because you think, well, that's justifying what they've done, but actually it sets you free. It makes you just a more free person to go on and live your life, and they don't have that effect on you. So I really encourage people to push into that and to ask God for the power to do that. You know, when you're following Jesus and he promises that he will help us forgive, you know, the Holy Spirit gives us the power to do it. So it is a difficult thing, and so again I encourage people to pray about it, talk to a friend, get some help, but really go hard after forgiveness.
Has there been any times that you've seen that freedom of forgiving in your life?
Massively,
you know, any examples of any times that you had to forgive someone and that almost lifted a burden off you? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I would say lots and lots of times, because I think that's life, isn't it? But we did have quite a big issue in our family life. So just over 7 years ago, our eldest son got married, and we were having catering done, and it was going to be Polish food because his fiancée is Polish. And a week before the wedding, we'd paid for it all up front and really trusted this person. And a week before the wedding, she pulled out and took all of our money. And we had no food, and she'd taken quite a few...
I didn't even know about this at all.
It was quite a big thing. And it was, I mean, at the very beginning when it happened, we just had to go into overdrive to try and arrange something. And God was very gracious, and he did, and people pulled together, and we did find some new caterers who did Polish food, and it was all fine, and the wedding was fine. But afterwards, I think we just felt, you know, we were thinking about it, thinking, you know, we need this money back. Or we hadn't got a lot of money, so it was quite a few £1,000s. So we looked into what we could do, and we thought, we're going to go to the small claims court, and, you know, we're really going to bring other challenges to try and get our money back, even though it might have been a little bit weakly. And it was really beginning to eat us up and affect us all as a family, us and the kids, and Josh and Natalia, who got married, and me and Simon, and we were in ministry, and we all the time we were just getting more and more like bitter really about why would she do this to us. And then God really spoke to me and Simon, like gave us this impression and challenged us to say, are you going to forgive her? Will you let her off the hook? Because your legacy of the wedding, every time you think of the wedding, this is what you're going to be thinking of, is this awful thing. And it was kind of tainting the view. So we gathered the kids together and talked about it and said, you know, we really feel that God's asking us to let her off the hook and forgive her, which was a big deal, because we knew that was probably saying goodbye to any reclaim on any money. But, you know, we did it as a family. We prayed together, and we chose to say we let her off the hook. And we wrote her a letter in Polish and in English, just to make sure she knew that we were following Jesus, and that we didn't want to hold any grudge against her, and we were just kind of letting her off. And we didn't hear anything back, but it made us feel so free.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about the money. And I'm not saying don't ever go to small claims court or put people through the criminal justice system if they've done wrong things. This was very personal to us. And I think God was more saying, do you trust me that you've lost this money and that I'll make it up to you? And will you choose forgiveness when actually the world's way is to not, is to go after, because she was wrong. What she did was really wrong, and really it could have wrecked their wedding day. But,
I think if I was in your family when you said that, I think I'd be a bit, I'd struggle to hear that you guys say we just want to forgive.
Well, there were wider members of our family that really thought we were making the wrong decision, and they found it hard, but we had to follow what God was saying, and we had to hold tight as a little unit and say, no, we are doing this. I know it sounds really crazy, and it's not like we had lots of money to go. It doesn't matter about the few £1,000s. It did matter, but we knew that forgiving her was actually a growth thing for all of us as a family. So we had to do that. But we also saw the benefit of feeling so free, and we can now think of the wedding and not think about that awful week that was.
Wow. And something else just to get on something else that you talked about on the in this talk was about generosity.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about generosity, how we can be free to be generous, and what that really looks like.
Well, I'm not just talking about money, although I do think that's a massive part of generosity. I feel that trusting God with what we have and our possessions is a huge part of discipleship, really. And I think me and Simon have always tried to live our lives saying, what we have is given to us by God, and we have to be open-handed with it and be open to give it away. And so, financially, I think we should be really generous and always be looking as to who needs what we have. And I did do some different quotes, didn't I, in my talk, which again you'll have to listen to, but different people had talked about generosity, about not having to think about whether you should do it, but just doing it, without that second thought moment. And I think we can be choosing to be generous with our whole lives, actually, with our time, our energy, our possessions, our money, and what we have. And I think God is really blessed by that, and of course other people are. But it also, for me, gives God the opportunity to bless me back, to give me what I'm giving away. And although I don't do it for that reason, I've seen it time and time again through my life where I've chosen to sacrificially go, can't really afford to do this, but I know I need to do that, and actually it's a good thing for me to do, and God has just somehow given it me back. Not always through money, but somehow we've been blessed somehow that I've gone, do you know what, God sees my generosity. So I think that really frees us as a people, where the world is so consumeristic and all about what we have, to hold that lightly and say, do you know what, if God wants me to pass that on, then I will.
So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here, which Keely asked me not to do before this. But do you have any practical ways that we can be generous in our lives? Any ideas of how we can be generous practically in our lives?
I would even just be thinking every day about, as you're going about your daily life, what could I share? Who is there in front of me that might need something? Even if it's like paying for someone's coffee. You can't do that at the moment because we haven't got any coffee shops open. But
it's a hard time to ask that question, to be honest.
But in normal life, when that resumes, if you're sitting in a coffee shop and God just speaks to you and says, you go and bless that person, buy them a coffee, do things like that. Be listening to the Holy Spirit. We've given money to individuals that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that would come up, but suddenly I felt I need to do that, and I haven't asked questions. It's often anonymous, and you just pass it on. But also with our time, we can be generous. Sometimes we just want to get home, watch the TV, and God might need you to speak to somebody or put on your heart a friend that you might need to phone up. It's about being generous with all of ourselves. So I would just encourage everyone to be all the time thinking, am I giving or am I being selfish? And often I think we're being selfish. And so to push ourselves to always be thinking of the people around us and what they might need and what can they have of what we've got. And to share our possessions. And
great.
So,
well, thanks for joining me to talk about, for our first coffee chat, although neither of us actually have coffee in our drink. We both got water. We had our coffee already this morning, so
I was filming something else and then we had to go to water.
To make 2 coffees and have 2 coffees in the morning, next time will probably be a coffee. But thanks for joining me for our first coffee chat. It's been good. And if you haven't already, then do go onto YouTube and watch Keely's talk on Sunday, A Faith That Frees.
And Jake's from the weeks before because it was really good.
Oh, wow. Thanks for joining us.